Hello all, welcome back to another episode of the Soapbox. The theme for this week is how to utilize those deep hip rotators, and the ones that I'm talking about are the ones that we need in order to maintain our turnout in dance. So we're going to start off with a bit of basic anatomy of these deep rotators and how you don't need to grip your glutes to activate these. And then we're going to take a quick look at just a few ways I test these in clinic, and also some fun exercises that you can start with in your dance classes to start strengthening these. All right, so if you have a look at the slide here, these are the deep muscles of the hip. These are deep lateral rotators, also known as our turnout muscles. So the glutes here have been cut away. So there's 5 deep rotator muscles I want you guys to remember. First one is piriformis, then we have the gemelli brothers, gemelli superior and inferior, we have quadratus femoris, and then obturator internus and externus. And these all start at different spots along the pelvis, and they come out and attach onto the side of the femur, and they're going to help pull it as soon as they contract into lateral rotation. And these are the ones we're going to be looking at trying to isolate and condition in these next exercises. So the first one I'm going to show you is one for standing leg turnout, and we'll kind of have a look at how we can isolate those muscles. Okay, so we want to work on strengthening the deep rotators of the hip, and the best way to kind of isolate standing leg turnout is with this running man exercise, compliments of Miss Lisa Howell. So thank you, Lisa, for this one. So with your students, you'll have them laying on their side. I just use a roller to prop their top leg up. We're gonna have shoulders stacked, hips stacked, and the bottom knee should be kind of right under the hip. So this is our standing leg that we're going to be strengthening. So the task is, she needs to rotate her shin bone up, which would in turn be rotating the thigh bone open for turnout or rotation, external rotation. And then she has to control the descent of that shin bone down. I'm watching for 2 things. So they're gonna wanna cheat either by gripping in through the glutes or by using their hip flexors. The way that I can tell if they're using their hip flexors is if she tries to bring it up, she's gonna move her knee forward. That's how I know these are kind of kicking in. So I just kind of put one hand here. I'm gonna help her on the first few reps just so she can get a feel, but she's gotta keep the glutes quiet and also the hip flexor. Rotating up and controlling it down. She likes to do a little bit of glutes. That was better, yeah. And then she's gonna try a few controlling the descent. So I'm gonna let go. And I'm just kind of watching if there's a little kind of cogwheeling, a little bit of hip flexor on that one. Just gonna try to control that leg down and back up. And if you see any little jerking along the way, that's just the muscles trying to figure out what to do. We don't need to do very many with this. They're usually a little weak because the bigger muscles are used to kicking in. So usually I'd say to them, just start with like 8, maybe 10 reps, and then switch other side. And the key is to control it not just on the up, but also on the descent, so it's not just kind of flopping. And that is for standing leg turnout. So these are really neat. It's a nice little clinical measuring tool other than getting what we call a goniometer or special measurement tool out. These are nice and quick little assessment tool to measure rotation at the hip, and we can also use these for tibial torsion, but today we're talking hip. So they're called functional footprints, and they actually have degrees on them, which is kind of neat. And so as Miss Morgan is standing here, I'm just kind of watching, okay, does she like to stand in a little bit more rotation of one foot than the other? Yeah, a little bit more on the right. So now she's gonna start to rotate her thigh bones open, growing tall through the spine, without gripping the glutes if possible. I kind of note the degrees, and I also note where her weight is in space, because they're a little tippy forward and back. And I'm also noticing if one goes farther than the other. Okay, and then she's gonna go back to center. We'll have her do that again, lifting up nice and tall, maybe have her arms bras just to test a little bit of balance. She's gonna rotate open and hold. And again, just noticing her strategies, noticing if she can hold that, and then go back to center. So a nice way to track if she did that running man exercise at home if her strength starts to improve with standing leg turnout, and you can track it in degrees, so kind of nice. Now the other thing that often gets missed is internal rotation at the hip. So you come around, you can kind of see she's going to try to keep this leg totally parallel. Her hips stay square, and she's going to rotate this foot in as far as she can. And notice that's a struggle for her. So she was much better with the rotation out, and this is quite common with dancers, is we spend so much time in an external rotation, the hip doesn't get to internally rotate, but we need both for a healthy hip. So again, she's going to rotate that leg in, watching that she maintains forward facing ASIS or hip bone. I'm going to note the degrees, so she only gets to about 18 degrees, and then go back to center, and then I'm going to compare it to the left, rotate in, and back to center, and go once more and hold. Rotate in, again just minding the hip, and she only gets about 12 on that side. So I might want to work on a bit of internal rotation for both, left more than right. And those are functional footprints. To take it one step further, what we can also assess is a plie on here. So her ability to maintain her rotation and her weight as she's going through a little demi-plie. So she's going to have arms bras. She's going to lift 2 inches taller through the spine. She's going to rotate her thigh bones open without squeezing the glutes. Growing 2 inches taller, she's going to do her demi-plie, and she has to try to not move the discs as she does that. And it's tricky. And I'm kind of watching right versus left, if she tends to weight bear more on the ball of the foot or the heel. And again, little demi. And come up and go back to center and call that done. So we can actually use their little circle disc called rotation discs that they could practice at home, again, only once they've mastered the Running Man exercise. But the discs are nice because you can actually do rises, you could do grand plies, so they're great, lots of fun for a rotation workshop. All right, so I hope that gave you a deeper understanding of those deep hip rotators and how you can start strengthening them in yourself and or in class with your students. Tune in a couple weeks. We're going to dive right into a few other things you can start including in warm-up, including taking out those static stretches before class. So we'll chat more about that in a couple weeks. Thanks so much. I'm Danny West, and this is the Soapbox.